I was never really in it for the money or the coke or the chicks, you know. I mean, I was in it for the art of, and you know, when you're a musician, you have this passion in you, this hunger in you, not to be famous, but just to get on stage and express yourself, you know, to play.
My name is Boris Kinberg. I'm a percussionist with Willie, playing with him on and off for about 20 years.
I'm Dave Keys, bass player and vocalist with Willie since October of '92.
My name is Freddie or Frederic Coella. And what a pleasant evening.
And I'm Kenny Margolis. I've been playing with Willie. I started with Willie in 1979. I think it was the fall of '79.
That's Sweetie. Last time I checked, I don't remember. And I'm Yadana, which they call me Lisa because that's my middle name.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You know I need.
When I joined, he had a band that was I would say the remnants of his first band that played on the first two records. And one by one, they either left or were replaced. And during this period, Willie was writing the material that would become the Chat Bleu album.
I initially joined in 1984. The sax player, original sax player, Louis Cordelesi, who I had worked with in other projects in New York. There was a core group of like 25, 30 guys that seemed to do all the bar gigs around town for various singer-songwriters. And he showed me a black and white photo of Louis rolling sax and Willie leaning into the microphone in James Brown style. And I'd never seen anybody who looked like this, especially who was playing down at CBGB's. And I got a copy of the audition tape from Kenny Margolis, the original keyboard player, and I listened to it and I said, I'm meant to be in this band because this is what I do.
So I auditioned for this band in New York City. There was 6 or 7 bass players there that day and a bunch of saxophone players. And made the first audition, and Willie wasn't even there. The band was there and they were auditioning everybody. And they asked me to come back the next day and played a couple more songs, tried a few things. And then we settled in on a saxophone player, Mario Cruz. And then after 2 or 3 rehearsal sessions, Willie came in, listened to a couple of things, and then he came up to me and he said, David, you want to go to Europe? I said, yeah, sounds good.
And in a film that was done about the Ramones, I don't know whether or not you've seen that 2-hour film.
End of the century.
Excellent movie. I think they interview one of the Ramones and they talk about the starting there, and they say, yeah, like there was us, there was there was Blondie, and there was this band WILLY DeVILLE, and they said we were the outcast bands of the outcast bands. I mean, absolute fringe, and and Hilly let them play there.
We were doing little Walter stuff. We were doing Elmore James stuff. We weren't doing Backdoor Man, We were doing like the real stuff nobody had heard. The only thing that we used to do that people had heard or recognized was we used to do Please, Please, Please by James Brown. We used to do our Apollo thing where, you go down on the floor and Ruben would put my leather jacket, I had a long leather coat, and he'd put it over my shoulders, and I'd walk off and then go back and boom on the floor again, because I saw James when I was a kid, and I loved that show, man. Anyway, we played CBGBs for like 3 years, and then all of a sudden the word got out, and then came this word that, to me, where I come from, is a bad word, punk. If you're a punk, that's somebody who picks a fight with you and never shows up.
There were, to my mind, there were three main eras. The first era was the Lower East Side, skinny tie, purple shirt, like West Side Story,
Right.
Puerto Rican Sharks, gang vibe. And then it transmuted into the Mississippi riverboat plantation / gambler riverboat road Rhett Butler thing, where he had custom-made suits and he really got into the period and into the clothes, and it just totally immersed himself in the New Orleans, not in the present New Orleans, but the New Orleans of the 1880s, 1890s, the absinthe drinking, the voodoo New Orleans. Totally immersed himself in that.
Well, we met him in New Orleans. He was, I think, recording the Big Three Mixture album. And he needed some background vocals. And at the time, we had worked with a big producer by the name of Alan Toussaint.
You know who Alan is.
Yeah, Mr. Toussaint.
Don't you know Alan Toussaint?
Lady Marmalade.
And then he left New Orleans, moved to the Southwest, and came back as the second coming of Black Elk.
There was the Ramones, Patti Smith, Television, Talking Heads, and us. And I would say we were the 5 big draws. Then one night, this blonde-headed guy came in, Ben Edmonds. And he really is the guy who's responsible for being the visionary of seeing that we were different than they were, and that we could probably have a career, at playing music. So we went into the studio. They gave us a couple of bucks. We went into this little cheap studio and we did, I think, 4 songs. And he gave it to Jack Nietzsche. I didn't even know who Jack Nietzsche was. I could tell you who Billy Boy Arnold was, or I could tell you who, One String Sam was. But I couldn't tell you who Jack Nietzsche was, I went up to a record store, and a friend of mine who is a record junkie, he works up there at Colony Records in Times Square, and I said, they want this guy, his name is Jack Nietzsche, to produce the record. I said, have you ever heard of him? Knowing that he would know who this guy was. He said, are you kidding? You don't know who he is? And I said, no, I never heard of him. He said, Jesus, he did a lot of the Stones stuff. He did a lot of Neil Young stuff. He did all that Phil Spector stuff that we grew up with and loved. He's a big wig. He's very, very good. He came to New York. We got very, very drunk together, real drunk. We just fell in love with each other. You know, we were just buddies to the end. You know, I lost Jack. I told you a story. He died on my birthday 4 years ago. 5 years ago, actually. And he was like my uncle, my crazy uncle. I called him my mentor and my tour mentor.
At that time, he was exerting. People knew who he was. I mean, fans and in the business, from my understanding. And Springsteen, in particular, drew a lot of inspiration from some of his tunes and his arrangements. So even, you know, using things like the sax and the keyboard and that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but I mean, Willie played Bon Jovi's Wedding. So within his peers, he was definitely known and well respected.
You just can't categorize the stuff that he does. You know, and that's how he's very talented in that way, because he does a mixture of everything.
I don't know if Willie's spoken about this, about his field, you know, about his history with the American music juggernaut, but he really doesn't have a lot of good things to say about it. It's been my experience.
When he started out, first record, he was on Capitol, and well, we all know what happened to
and
the
I think
Beatles on Capitol.
and it's not without fault on their side too, because they produced I think it was Savoir Faire, and Capitol, they had it, and they didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
They had no.
Where do we put this guy?
Yeah. How do we sell this guy?
I don't think the American public had a chance to experience him, because in America at the time you had MTV telling you what to like, whereas Europe had not had MTV at that point, and they were very open to different music.
The suits have remained the same. They're still, you know, I now think of it as, okay, you get married and you and your wife go to the bank and you're gonna get a loan for a house. Now the bank don't really care if you and your wife don't get along and you get a divorce and all of the shit falls down on the ceiling falls down on your head. It's business, it's business. We're artists, so we take it real personal, you know, because it is our blood on those tapes. It sticks to the tape, matter of fact, you know. Jack said, man, I don't know why they even signed you. You should be with another label. He said, they're very safe. I mean, look who they got, the Beatles, the Beach Boys. It's all very safe stuff. He said, they thought you were a bunch of criminals when they saw you guys come in, you know. And he was right, he was right. They'd backed me so far. But then when I went to do Le Chat Bleu, which was the third record, I knew they weren't going to let me go to Paris by myself. They knew I was going to get into trouble.
Right, Capitol in the U.S. did not know what to do with it because they perceived Willie as this punk rocker from CBGB's, and he came back with a very different record, and they didn't understand it. They understood it in Europe. They released it immediately in Europe, and everybody loved it.
Anyway, as we move on, and the records moved on, and then I went to Atlantic Records, and I was with Polydor, Polygram, Capitol, Atlantic, all of them, you know, the suits, you know. Ahmed and I got along famously. We were good buddies, but we never got anything done. I consider my, it was a little more than about, it was a 20-year career of being a heroin addict, a fiend. It was a very, very expensive education. It can cost you your life. okay? It also, you can look very foolish and very stupid. I mean, how many times have any of us been really, really drunk and acted like total asses? Total asses. I mean, how do you think my nose got this way? And I never won a fight in my life.
But I think back then, Willie drew true inspiration from his lifestyle. You look at his songs, nobody writes better songs about drugs. He is the master. And I've heard them all. And his are without a doubt the most poetic, lyrical, and romantic songs about stuff that can potentially kill you, or will kill you eventually. So I think he drew real inspiration from his dangerous lifestyle at that period because he was young and strong and it just poured out of him.
Willie is the strongest person I've ever met. He went through all this I don't know, you know, my English is all this troubled time, you know, and he's still here. He's still standing up and still singing like amazing, you know. So he's a Übermensch, you know. He's amazing.
So I'm not saying like, you know, everybody who does dope like that is going to write a song like Mixed Up Shook Up Girl or Spanish Stroll or Lily's Daddy's Cadillac, a brilliant song which I wish we do. Lily's Daddy's Cadillac, it's a movie, a mini film. In a 3-minute song, you have an hour and a half film.
Tells the whole story.
Tells the whole story brilliantly. And what's it about? About a drug deal gone bad.
When I was working with Knopfler, and Mark will testify to this, he comes over and we were going to go over material that we were going to do for the Miracle record. And so I played him the cassette, and he said, "Oh, you know about the movie I'm doing?" And I said, "No, what movie? You're doing a movie? Great, man. You're doing a soundtrack?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "This is too strange. You don't know about the movie?" I said, "No, I don't know about the movie." "What movie?" He said, "Well, Rob Reiner's doing this movie, and it's about a prince and a princess, and it's exactly what you wrote down here. The lyrics, the text is exactly the same story as the movie." I think he thinks, you know, I'm touched or something.
The thing about Willie, for good or ill, is that he comes on stage with the exact same attitude that he's had all day. There's absolutely no shift in his perception of reality at that moment. It could be the stage or the street, and he'll come on with what happened during the day onto the stage. And sometimes that could work out, and sometimes it could be a little dicey, depending on his mood. And he's honest in the sense that he can't turn it off. Right. He just brings it with him, and whatever happens. But the fact that he comes to sound checks now is really different for us.
You know, it's a focus. It's a focus, and if you lose that focus for a second, the line goes by. You've lost it. You know, and it's happened to me 1,000 times. You know.
One of the things I love about Willie's decisions in the moment while we're on stage is that he's always looking for the odd bar or a little phrase extension, or he's not thinking of it that way, but he's just waiting for the right moment to go to the next line, even if the song doesn't go that way. And so we're always kind of paying attention to make sure we all hit at the same time, but it keeps the music alive, you know? So every night, each song is just a little bit different.
You could see that he's having a great time on stage every night, and that's so important.
It has been an experience traveling with Willie. It really has. I mean, Willie is a wonderful person. He really is. I mean, you don't get any. I mean, Willie is just like, he's a sweetheart. He's a total sweetheart. I don't care.
He's easy to work with.
It's very easy to work with. He doesn't play the boss role.
Right.
Totally.
Even when he should.
He gets away from that. Even when he should, he does not like to do that.
And when Willie called me now, this was the right time to start again with him.
Now he's amazing. I mean, I'm quite fascinated how good he's doing now. It's mind-boggling. I mean, he's playing like great. He's singing great. It's like, who is this guy? You know, it's like we finally landed. You know, and now we finally can share everything together, you know, and it's really cool.
And when he sounds great, the band sounds great.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank him for that. When he's been sounding so good, the band sounds different, even though it's basically the same material. The band sounds strong and full and confident. It's a pleasure. You know, it's been a real pleasure this time now.
My aspiration is really, I hope if I was born under a lucky star, I'd like to make it to, like, you know, where Muddy Waters was at, you know, and be able to stand up there without leotards on at, like, you know, 70 years old and play with just that kind of feeling and that kind of passion. That is what I aspire to, you know. That would be one of the most wonderful things.
One thing, Willie, get a haircut.
That's it.
Get a haircut. Go here. Dragging your face down there. Get a haircut.
See you later. We all have our prides.